Happy Friday afternoon, everyone. This is Brenda Meller with Meller Marketing coming to you with another edition of Social Media Pie, where I bring to you inspiring people to inform and educate you. And today I'm so excited. I have a LinkedIn rock star amongst our midst today, Bob McIntosh. Bob, how are you doing on this wonderful Friday?
Great. How are you doing, Brenda?
I'm doing great. Good. And this is the first time Bob and I have actually spoken with video. We actually had a phone conversation a couple months ago. We were having, I think you had some technical questions and we were sharing notes on some issues on LinkedIn. Yeah. But first time actually, having the chance to see you in person, Bob. So, and before I get started, I want to just do a quick shout out for those of you who are watching us live right now. I'm live streaming this interview to two platforms. This is going out on Facebook Live and this is going out on LinkedIn Live. And the topic we're going to be talking about today is job search strategies for mature workers. So what I want to encourage you guys to do, if you're watching this, if you're on Facebook or LinkedIn, wherever you're watching it, if you could click to share it out, that helps to get the broadcast out to more people. Even if you're not watching it live, if you're watching it later on, definitely, click to share. And I'm going to put the ticker underneath to remind you guys to do that as we're having the conversation here today. And I also want to encourage, if you're watching this, give this video a like and also leave us a comment and say, hi, Bob and Brenda, or say, hi, watching from Fraser, Michigan, or from Boston, or let us know where in the world you're watching from. I think these times more than ever, it's so great to have a human connection. And I like to kind of welcome you guys too. So I'll give it a minute or two. I'll see the comments that are coming in and then we'll give some shout outs. So I want to start with, let's have the conversation, Bob. I mean, you and I,
let's do it.
Yeah, we've been connected with each other for a while. Right. What I'd like to do is if you could tell our viewers a little bit about your background, what you're doing now, kind of how you got into the path, and then maybe we'll have a little bit of conversation about the topic too.
All right. So this is sort of like my 30-second commercial, huh?
Yeah, this is. You got it. I mean, you probably train and coach people on your 30. So
I do. Now I'm on the spot. So, yeah, right. So you called me a LinkedIn rock star earlier on. LinkedIn is a big part of my life. Yeah, it really is. I would say that I'm on LinkedIn more than anyone I know. But maybe not. I don't know. But I'm on LinkedIn quite a bit. And in fact, where I work at Mass Higher Lowell Career Center, I started the first LinkedIn program and consequently had to develop workshops to support that program. I'm also responsible for winning the Ingenuity Award, as part of a team for Mass Hire. And that's because we developed, are we on still?
We're still good.
Okay.
I'm looking down at my phone to see.
All right.
You can go away. I'll let you know. We're good. No, we're all good.
Okay, good. So I was part of a team that developed webinars, and I'm doing webinars now. I probably lead about, I'd say about 20 unique webinars and a bunch of other workshops. So that's a little bit about my work history. Yeah.
So right now you're shifting. I'm guessing you were doing probably more workshops in person, and you've probably shifted over the past month or two to doing everything virtual, or were you doing everything virtual?
Yeah. Unfortunately, with the virus, we had to do that. But even before then, we were doing webinars more often than workshops because they were sort of reconfiguring our office space.
Okay.
In any case, we do a lot of webinars, and they can be somewhat challenging, but they're fun. They're fun.
Yeah. And you can reach more people too this way too, right?
Yeah. You just don't get to see how people are reacting to you.
Yeah.
You don't get to see their facial expressions.
Yeah. Bob and I were even talking before we got on the video, you guys, today. And when we do broadcasts like these, I mean, there's a desktop webcam, or I'm like using an external. I'm pointing to my camera right now. My camera's actually up here, but I'm looking at the camera to make eye contact with you. And when I'm looking down at Bob, right now I'm looking at Bob in his eyes from my laptop. And it's hard because you don't have that same human connection when you're staring at a camera. And I was even joking earlier. I was doing a webinar with some job seekers, and everybody was mute because it was a large group. And I told a joke, and one person's microphone was still on, or their mute was off. And I was kind of like, is this funny? Is this making sense? And I had and I'm like, are you guys just thinking I'm some goofy lady? And one person started laughing, and I was like, it was actually nice to have that reaction from them. But,
I was doing a webinar this morning, and I decided to turn off the camera because I heard that there was some sound, interruption. And I asked the group if they wanted to see my ugly mug, and yes, so I just kept the camera off.
People like seeing human beings as opposed
Yeah.
to, I mean, it's really nice to have our professional headshot photo on our LinkedIn profile. It creates a great first impression, but I think people, you know, they like that impression. So before I turn the floor over and we're going to have this discussion about job search strategies and some of the things that you're offering, I'm going to give a couple shout outs, and I'm looking on screen right now. I can show, if you do go on to, I'm going to throw my web address here up on screen. If you go on to Meller Marketing on Facebook, you can leave a comment there, and I have the ability to show your comments on screen. So we've got Doug from Rye, New Hampshire joining us. Do you know Doug by chance? Do you know Doug?
No, not at all.
Okay. I was going to say he's you're in the.
Well, I can't see his last name, but
oh no. Okay. So so you just see, this is Doug from Rye, New Hampshire. I see on my screen it says Doug Shabinsky. And this is another.
Oh yeah. Hey, you know? Doug, how are you? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I was going to be like.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite customers.
Oh, good. So I'm in Metro Detroit, and Bob is in Boston, and I'm like, well, this is from your side of the country. So I'd be surprised if it was someone that stumbled upon. So good. So
hey, you know, Doug he's a quality guy. He's a quality guy. Yeah.
Awesome. Good. And then on LinkedIn, I'm just going to pop into here, and I have to kind of refresh my page as I look back and forth in LinkedIn. So I just refreshed, and it went from 3 comments to 7 comments. One of the little things I've learned from StreamYard. So you got to kind of keep up with it. So I'm going to say hi to Karen Kovac is joining us from Brighton, Michigan.
Hey, Karen.
We have Vicky who says hi, Brenda and Bob from Troy, Michigan.
All right, Vicky.
Jacob Levy, hi from the D. Nice to see you, Jacob. We have Aaron Kamenoff from Detroit.
All right, Aaron.
Yeah, we have Phyllis Wyndham from Lathrop Village, Michigan. Brian from East Point, Michigan. And Brian was actually on my session earlier today. So I was doing I do a weekly free LinkedIn for job seekers. And today we did the Zoom group discussion, and Brian was on earlier. So nice to see you, Brian. And then Benjamin Shablowski joining us as well, who says thank you. So we're pulling in. We got 61 viewers on LinkedIn right now. I can't see the viewers on Facebook.
Did we lose each other?
I'm still here. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you guys hear me? Uh-oh. Bob just froze up. So leave me a message in comments and let me know if you can still hear me. Bob, when you can hear me.
I'm still here. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. You just froze on my screen for a second, so we could have had a little technology hiccup in the middle there. But
probably on my end. I apologize.
Well, that's okay. We'll try to keep going here. And I do want to remind you guys too, we're in a day and age of technology. Sometimes there are hiccups and glitches. So if we experience that again, Bob, just keep going. Let me know if you're having a pause, and I'll kind of keep things running in the background, and we'll just pick up and we'll keep going, right? We'll roll with the punches. So let's have this conversation here, Bob. I mean, when we first said, hey, let's do a live together, and we were talking about, well, what can we talk about? And I said, well, what are you an expert in, and what do you want to share? And we were brainstorming a couple of suggestions on topics, and job search strategies, since just kind of aligning what you do. And you said job search strategies for mature workers. So first question I'm going to ask you is, what is the age of a mature worker? What's the break off there?
Well, that's a good question, because according to the Department of Labor, it's 40, but the Bureau of Labor Statistics puts it at 55, which I kind of like better. But even so, I'm a mature worker because I'm 56. But yeah.
Okay, so that's kind of
the ages. Yeah, and I think the Department of Labor puts it that low because I think that's when people start to change their lifestyle. In other words, when you're 40, you start to make more money, and you gain more status and so forth. So that's why I figured they put it that low.
Yeah, it's kind of low, huh? On the other side of it, I'm like, well, I guess I'm a mature worker then too. But on the other side of it is, the YoPros, the young professional groups. And I've seen them, they recommend, people who are a part of the group are 40 and younger, 35 and younger. It depends on the group, what's the cutoff. So that's all a little bit of a different, philosophy there. So, so tell me a little bit of your background, getting into this space. What's been your experience working with mature workers, and why are you, why do we pick this, or why did you pick this as a category to offer advice on today?
Well, where I work, the average age is 53. We call them our customers. Others might call them clients. So I'm, working with mature workers on a daily basis. And, I see what they're going through, and I hear their stories, and it's a tough, it's tough being a mature worker in the job search. So I started a job club, and Doug is one of the members, and in this job club, it comprises mainly of mature workers and sometimes long-term unemployed workers, which is 6 months or more of unemployment. So that's really my experience with mature workers. I love them. I mean, they do have a tough road ahead of them, but they really, I mean, they are stoic, and they always show up with a great mindset. Just love them. Yeah.
Yeah, and I have to say, I mean, when we were talking about this topic too, I've been, in the position too where, as a hiring manager, you look through the resumes, and you make judgment calls based on your preconceived notions of things, and you think, well, this position is really designed for a younger worker, somebody who's 3 to 5 years out of college, and then you see a mature candidate's resume coming through in the stack, and you come to that judgment conclusion, like, why would they're overqualified? I'm not going to hire them. And I'm going to offer a story out, related to the subject. This is a few years back. I was working for an organization. We were looking to hire a writer, and I had a candidate come through and apply for the position. He was a retired automotive communications executive, had moved up the ranks. And I could tell by his resume that he was probably in his late 50s, early 60s. He was well overqualified for the position. But I was surprised, and I was kind of like, what, I'm going to call him. I did a phone screen with him, and after kind of getting the background on, and I was like, I'm just curious, why are you applying for this position? You're clearly overqualified.
Good question, yeah.
Yeah, and he said, you know what? He's like, I did take a buyout a couple years back, and I've been doing some freelance work from home. I live by myself, and he's like, I really enjoy being in a team environment, and I want to be a contributor, not a team leader or manager. And he's like, I'll probably do it for a couple of years, I'll be honest with you, and that'll be it. And I ended up bringing him in for an interview, and he was like, and he knew what the pay level was, and he wasn't trying to make six figures, he just wanted to get out of the house. And I ended up hiring him for the position. He was like one of the best workers I've ever had. He was professional. He was responsible. He was an adult. He didn't complain about the work. He got along well with everybody in the team, did what we needed, and, was very respectful. And so I'm going to challenge, those of you who are watching, maybe you're not in the pool of being a mature worker, but maybe you have an opportunity to look through some resumes. I just want to challenge you, don't count those people out, because
absolutely not.
And this is an audience of one here, but I have to imagine, Bob, this has been, similar to other clients.
Well, I mean, everyone's story is different. The person you ran across and hired, his story was that, hey, he just wanted to either take a step back, or he wanted to get back into the trenches and do some writing. And I have a lot of customers who are like that. They just are tired of the management scene and the stress, and they just want to get back into, like I said, the trenches, get back to the technology or whatever they were doing. And in order for them to really sell employers on it, they have to have a really compelling reason to do this. One good compelling reason to do this is sort of like a career change. Some people, they want to change their career because they've been doing it for way too long, and they would be much more happier doing something that they really feel passionate about.
Right, that they enjoy doing. Yeah. So I kind of shared with you, in my mind, I think there's a couple stereotypes, like the overqualified. But what, in your impression, your experience, what stereotypes do you feel that employers have of mature workers?
Well, one of them is that a mature worker will be bored taking on similar responsibilities. But as I said, it's, sometimes they just want to get back to what they were doing, and maybe they want to take on mentor roles. Mature workers are great mentors and leaders, so you really can't discount them. So, another stereotype that employers have is that mature workers, want too much money, which also may not be true, because maybe they're financially set, and, the tuition's been paid, the car loans have been paid off, mortgage and so forth. So, you never know. I think, what you did with that gentleman was really good. You at least listened to him, you brought him in, and you ended up hiring him, right?
Yeah, I did. And he was, like I said, one of the best hires. And a couple of years in, he came to me and said, I don't know that I want to do this, full-time anymore. And we actually brought him down to part-time. And then at one point he's like, I don't know if I want to do this part-time anymore. And then we kind of agreed, you know, when the last date would be. But, you know, I want to come back to another question or another point you just made, which was the expectations about pay and salary. And I kind of feel like younger candidates, you know, when they reach that point that they realize, gosh, I can negotiate, even if the job says it pays X and I want Y, I might be able to apply for the position and get them to raise it up. Do you feel like more mature candidates they kind of know what the threshold is for a salary in there? I mean, are they less likely to think they're going to pay me more because of my experience coming in? If they understand they're applying for a job and they know what the pay level is, are they more likely to not expect that, I guess? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And I think it depends on the individual. I mean, most of the mature workers I know, they're pretty high level job seekers. So they understand, you know, the value of negotiating and they'll negotiate, you know, and, you know, as a result, they'll get more money than they normally would have. So I really think it depends on the individual. Some younger workers may feel that, you know, that's what they have to do. That's what, you know, they're supposed to do. But I really do think it's just based on the individual. Okay.
So kind of more of a characteristic of the person necessarily than of the, so let's change gears a little. I'm looking at my notes down here too. So let's change gears a little bit here and let's talk about the strengths of mature workers. And, you know, I think we're speaking to the employer, the hiring manager audience here. You know, let's have that conversation.
Well, you know, one of the strengths of the mature worker is obviously job experience. And I think that goes a long way. So if you really want someone to hit the ground running, then a mature worker will most likely be that person. Life experience really counts for a lot too. I mean, a lot of mature workers, they've been through traumatic events, they've lost maybe family members. And so as a result, they have become better problem solvers. You know, that would be another strength of the mature worker. And they don't take the little things as seriously as others might, you know. They just know how to handle stress better. They're also very dependable. Mature workers, you know, one of the stereotypes employers have of mature workers is that they'll take more sick days, which is not true. You know, mature workers, they won't skip work because they have a headache or because they have the sniffles. You know, they'll go into work, you know, because so, you know, those are some of the strengths. And then other strengths would be that they have I think they really have a lot of pride in the work they do. And in some way they like to think of the company, the company as their own. So loyalty is another strength of a mature worker. And also the work ethic. I don't know. I don't know how many of you out there remember as a kid, if you shoveled your neighbor's yard, driveway or cut your neighbor's yard, you know, I did, you know, and I think we learned our work ethic, and I'm a baby boomer. So, you know, we learned our work ethic either by seeing what our parents did or by starting working at a very early age. But
yeah, you kind of learn your way through that. And I think in some aspects too, you were talking about, you know, sometimes mature workers are, you know, whether they're changing industries or getting into new roles and things like that. And so now that you've given me the age for this, I told my husband to watch in the other room. I'm not sure if he is or not. I'm 45. He's 7 years older than me. So he's technically a mature worker. And he's changed industries. You know, early on in his career, he was in retail store management for many, many years. And then he decided to get out of that.
Yeah.
It is, and it was a lifestyle, and he, you know, would get frustrated and quit this retailer and pick up one. And one year he came home at Christmas and said, I can't do it anymore. They're either going to carry me out in handcuffs because I'm going to go off on somebody, or take me out in a stretcher because I'm going to have a heart attack, or I need to walk out and not come back ever again. And I said, you can leave, but you can never work for a retailer ever again. Like, we're done. And he ended up getting out of that and then getting into some customer service roles, working for organizations, and has since moved on. But one of the things that was really interesting is when he got into these new positions, people would think that he was kind of at a manager level because he was older. you know, they draw these conclusions. So getting his foot in the door wasn't a problem, and he started moving up quickly because of his age and maturity level.
Right.
So, you know, another little bonus point in there. And I'm going to take a second just to look at, we had a couple more comments coming in. So actually my audio glitch, or the audio glitch we experienced, Bob, worked to our advantage, because I had 10 people like putting comments saying, yes, I can hear you. Yes, I can hear you. And in the meantime, we have, we're international now, Bob.
Oh, nice.
Royson McNeil from Dublin, Ireland. Royson, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Please let me know if I'm not. But what?
Hey, ask Royson if he likes Guinness.
I think it might be a she. But
okay.
Yeah, we'll see. Do you like Guinness? We have 2 questions for you, Royson. 1, do you like Guinness? And 2, what time of day is it there in Ireland? We also have Lori Smith from Laguna Beach. I think that's California, isn't it? Laguna Beach?
I think so.
Yeah,
I think so.
So Lori, you'll have to tell us, or if other people are watching, you'll have to tell us, is that California? And then I had all kinds of folks: Carol, Brian, Royson, Phyllis, Vicky, Vicky. They all said we can hear you. And then Allison, who was in the job seekers session this morning, says hi to Brenda and Bob. And another international, we have Mustafa joining us, Bob, from Cairo, Egypt.
Oh, nice. Excellent.
We're reaching people all over here.
Right. What time is it over there?
What time is it in Egypt? Let's ask.
It must be 12.
I feel like, is it 12 hours before?
I think it is.
So is it 3:25
hours before?
Before? I don't know. We'll have to see what the person says. But I want to remind you guys, if you're just watching, look at the little ticker. Let me see if I can track it going by here. Please share this post. Help to extend the reach of this message, whether you're watching it now or watching the playback later.
Right.
So let's shift into this topic of ageism. And Bob, you know, when people are looking for jobs, and I've heard, you and I both work in the LinkedIn space, so I've heard some people say, well, I don't want to show my photo on my LinkedIn profile because I don't want to be disqualified from a position because of my age. So, you know, does ageism exist? And talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, it does. It does exist. And, you know, it exists for the companies that are really, as I like to say, dumb. The companies, and there are a few of them out there that will practice ageism, but it does exist. And that's why mature workers have to have a strategy to get past it if they possibly can. And you know, it even exists with older hiring authorities, believe it or not. You know, they may think that a role is better for a younger person when an older person could handle it just as well. But and I think that, you know, what mature workers need to realize is that if they let it get to them, if they think that they're going to be discriminated against in every interview, then they've already lost the battle. You know, they're entering an interview with a chip on their shoulders that they really shouldn't. You know, that's why I say get rid of those preconceived notions that you're going to be discriminated against, because who knows, maybe they are looking for someone who is mature and a great leader, like Doug. Okay, my friend Doug.
Yeah,
a great leader. Okay, so he has interviewed hundreds of people, and you can just really feel the knowledge that comes off him. So yes, unfortunately, it does exist, and you know, but not only for mature workers, but also for younger workers. Younger workers, I think, even have it worse because they're perceived as not having enough experience. And the unemployment rate for younger workers is twice as high as that for mature workers. So I guess, you know, what it comes down to is not letting it. Oh, there's Doug. Hey, Doug. Yeah.
Ask Doug. I hope you don't mind that I'm putting you up on screen. So you said Doug is a client. So his job. Is Doug a job seeker or is Doug a hiring manager? Which side of the
I don't know. I haven't spoken with him lately, but he the last time I spoke with him, he was a job seeker, and this wasn't too long ago. This was a couple of weeks ago. But I told you that I run a job club, and he's a member of the job club, and you know, he's a leader in that job club. It's great. You know, it means I don't have to do as much talking, but
right.
You know, he gives great career advice. So. You know, and I'm sure Doug would tell you, yeah, ageism does exist, and he's experienced it, but you just have to get past that. You have to realize that the people who are discriminating against you based on your age, they're dumb. You know,
that's them, right?
Yeah, that's them.
That's not you. And I like the analogy I like to use when I hear people saying, well, I don't want to put my profile picture on there because I don't want people to, you know, not interview me because I'm I'm older. Well, you know what? They're going to figure that out. So if that's in their head already, you know, address it in the interview. And, you know, if they haven't asked the question like I did when I was screening my candidates, and I said, you're clearly overqualified. If they're not asking you that, then that's on you to say, hey, as you're looking for a candidate, I want, you know, you may be looking for folks that are less, but let's think about how you phrase this. You don't say that are younger than me. You would say you might be looking at candidates who are less qualified. Like flip it to kind of position your age and your maturity as a strength, right? So you're looking at younger candidates or those that are maybe less reliable, less responsible because they don't have as much life experience as I have. Now it just went from, you know, the analogy I like to use is when you hold out a glass of milk to someone and you say, does this milk smell sour? Versus holding out a dish to someone and say, look at this yogurt. Doesn't this look amazing? You know, it's like, like flipping the way that you position things. You know, take your perceived challenges or weaknesses and position those as a strength. And you know,
exactly.
put yourself against the other folks, right?
But I mean, getting back to the LinkedIn profile photo, it's absolutely necessary. And you know, you see Doug's photo. He is a mature worker, and he's not trying to hide that fact. And as you say, you know, if you know you're being discriminated against based on your age and what you have on your LinkedIn profile, then you're not going to know. I mean, you're not going to know if someone passes you by because of your age, but you will know that if someone contacts you, that they're okay with your age. So, you know, not only that, but a photo makes you come across as more friendly, more likable, memorable, and quite honestly, if you don't have a photo, then you know, you may not be trusted. And that's sometimes how I see it. Like, why doesn't this person have a photo? What is this person trying to hide?
Right.
It may be their age. Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes it's like they are not aware of, they may not put a photo on there because they may not be aware of the settings, which might show that you're lacking knowledge of technology. Or they may not.
Right. So one woman said to me, she said, I don't have a photo on there because I don't know how to upload it. And I thought at the time, boy, that's, you know, that's a bad excuse. But in any case, you know, that could be the case, that they just don't know how, or they don't have a good photo.
So I'm going to give a little shout out here to Doug because he said he is looking for a new position. So Doug, if you could, you're on Facebook, I think right now, Doug, tell us what type of position are you looking for and what's your targeted geographic area? Because I'm going to give you a little bit of a plug. I'm a big believer in helping others, paying it forward. And, you know, maybe this video will help Doug to land that next position. But he also mentions, you know, a couple of things. I'm going to put this back up on screen. The experience a mature worker brings benefits to the company, which I think was kind of echoing your earlier point, Bob.
Yeah.
Very good there.
Yeah.
So let's kind of move on here. You know, what are you know, other ways that mature workers are hurting their own prospects as they're going through this job search?
I mean, it may be a self-fulfilling prophecy. It just may be that, you know, because they've been told that they can't do the job because they're too old, they're not going to be able to perform as well as younger workers, then maybe they start to feel that, you know, or it's that they can't learn new things. And maybe they start to feel that when in fact it's not about the ability to learn, it's about the willingness to learn.
Right.
So I think it can get into their heads, and that's not a good thing, you know. They need to feel that they can do the job because they can. You know,
and kind of reframing that, I think, you know, sometimes you need, you know, I'm a big believer in focusing on inspiration and focus on the positive. You need to be telling your brain, because sometimes things get inside your head. I'm not going to find a job. I'm too experienced. I'm too old. Like all these things. And you need to stop the negative self-talk. And you need to start flipping it into, you know, kind of those positive aspirations and start saying, I am valuable. I bring a lot of experience. I could bring a lot of talent to a company, and reminding people what you're looking for. And, you know, being positive about it and surrounding yourself with positive people like Bob, you know, and letting people in your network know what you're looking for. But I think it's also a bit of like paying it forward, helping others along the way. Sometimes that takes that that focus off of you, and you feel good about helping other people. So Doug put a comment on Facebook here. He's looking for an engineering leadership role, preferably New England area, but willing to relocate anywhere in the world. So if anyone watching this,
see, that's another thing about Doug is he's willing to relocate. I was going to say that earlier, and he was Doug. I'm sorry we're talking about you like this, but
he doesn't mind. He's okay.
He was applying for a position in Syracuse, and I'm like, dude, you really have it going because you're willing to relocate. Not a lot of people above the age of 30 or even 40 would consider that. So
yeah,
that's great.
Because you are. I mean, we're at the point, like myself and my husband, we've got kids, we've got roots here. We couldn't move anywhere. But once your kids grow up, graduate, move out of the house, it's a different ball game altogether there.
Yeah.
So changing gears a little bit, Bob, I'm going to take this comment. Sorry, guys, I'm trying to navigate as I'm going throughout here. And Doug does say that's okay. So I think he didn't mind us putting him on on the fence there on the screen.
That's cool. Yeah.
So, we're now in a time, Bob, and when we originally scheduled this interview, I think it was like the week the pandemic was really starting to affect the country, lock things down. And I reached out to you, and I've done this with all the lives. I reached out and I said, do you still want to do this? Do you want to reschedule? If we are going to keep it, I think we need to, address the elephant in the room, what's happening in the world right now. Sure. And at the time you said, hey, things are going on, we just need to move the date. And we pushed it out a couple weeks, and we're now in, I think, like a little bit of a new normal, like things are
right.
So what do you think are the impact of the job search market on the mature job seeker, with the COVID-19 going right now?
Well, I think like in any generation, it's got a serious impact. But, I think that a mature worker may be able to get through this better than others because, as I've said, that we've experienced loss and traumatic events. And, this is something we know that we just need to get through. Right. And in their style of job search, which tends to be a little more, which tends to be slower and more thorough, I think this gives them a great opportunity to really conduct the job search properly by, first of all, understanding what they want to do, and then also once knowing that how they're going to research the companies for which they want to work, the companies, the exact companies, and then just doing research on the companies. I think this is an opportunity for them to start doing that. But yeah, I mean, this virus is having an impact on every generation, and it's but I would never rule a mature worker out in this situation. Never.
Yeah. Are you having people come to you now that are saying, I have in the mature, category too, are you having job seekers come to you now saying, I have interviews, but they're video. What do I do? Are they coming with those concerns, or are they feeling comfortable,
Not many of mine. As I said, I tend to have more of the upper level customers. So, they get it. They get the idea of video interviewing. They've probably been through some video interviewing. Okay. But, me personally, I haven't had a lot of people coming to me about, video interviewing.
Okay, good question. Okay,
questions about that, but
that's good. Their experience. Because everybody done, video teleconferencing or webinars or like that too. So I'm going to open it up to you guys now. I want to encourage you, if you have any questions for Bob, and Bob, you work with candidates at all levels, not just the job seeker, right? And so describe for us a bit, the work that you do. Is it resume assistance? Is it helping with job search strategies? All of the above? Is it LinkedIn? Tell us a little bit about what you do and who you help.
It's about everything. I mean, I would call myself more of a job coach because, I have a colleague who, she and we do workshops and webinars. So that's reaching a broader audience, that's being able to educate more people at one time. And then I also meet one-on-one with people, go over their resumes, their LinkedIn profiles, talk about the importance of networking, brainstorm about networking. So anything from resume writing, cover letters, LinkedIn profiles, mature worker, negotiating salary and benefits. I cover pretty much everything.
Okay, great topic. Yeah, so guys, Bob just gave you a lot of really lot of different categories of things that he helps with. So if you have questions about any of those categories, Bob, I'm going to put you on the spot right now. I'm going to just let people know. Ask Bob your questions now, and we'll see.
That's fine.
We'll put some Bob if we can. No, we won't do that. I want to use this as an opportunity for you to help others. So I'm just looking in our LinkedIn. So we got a couple of folks responding to earlier comments. Mustafa, who I believe was it Egypt? Yeah, Egypt. It's 9:36 p.m. there. So
all right, dude. Okay. Yeah.
Nighttime there. Karen says, here's the post to her Facebook. Thank you so much for doing that, Karen. And then Lori said, yep. And I think Lori was the person that was from, what did I say?
Laguna Beach.
Laguna Beach. I'm like, my mom brain sometimes I'm like, where was that city at again that was in there? So I will let you guys ask questions of Bob. I'm waiting to see if your comments come in. And when you're doing these things on StreamYard, I'm always a little, cautious about waiting for the comments, because it's about a 30-second delay from the time that I say submit your questions to the point that the questions start to come in. And even then it's like you type and you have, what do I want to ask Bob? So it might be another minute.
But you've mastered it, Brenda. You've gotten really good at this.
I'm trying. It's all smoke and mirrors right now behind the scenes here. But I'm going to ask a question. Salary negotiation. Now that we're in this day and age of the pandemic, and people are worried about the job market tightening up, and they may be more reluctant to negotiate salary. They might say, "I've got an offer. I've got to just take it." What would be your advice for them?
I would say don't think that way, because first of all, employers expect you to negotiate salary, benefits, and so forth. And believe it or not, you do have leverage, because you are the person they want. They don't want number 2, number 3, but they want you. And good employers, they will pay, what you're worth in the labor market. So don't be unrealistic, but try to negotiate for the salary that you deserve. But first of all, understand what they're willing to pay. First ask them what their salary range is, and if they're willing to give that, then at least you know where you stand in terms of viability. Always realizing, though, that what they tell you is less than what they can really afford. So
I
don't care if you're out of work. I don't care if you're a mature worker, if you're younger. Don't be afraid to negotiate.
Okay, really good point there. And the point I want to reiterate too is I put this tip up on screen. If you have an offer, they want you. They want you for that position. They don't want to go to number 2. They don't want to lose you to another employer or another opportunity.
That's your leverage.
Yeah, that's your leverage. And I'm flattered, and have a conversation. And I think coming from a place of you want to leave that negotiation conversation feeling like you both win. You don't want to feel like
exactly win-win.
Versa. But they're going to look back and feel like if the negotiation went well, that they've got the great candidate in the role, and things are working well there. So what else? Let's talk about cover letters and resumes, Bob. And right now, are people still mailing in resumes and cover letters, or are we doing everything electronically? And if it's so, do we still need a cover letter that goes along with that?
So, to answer the first question is, we are sending our documents via email, even social media in some cases, even through texting. But I would say that if, a cover letter is still being read. In fact, my wife, she works for a department where they received a whole bunch of resumes, and they were just dumbfounded as why there weren't any cover letters along with them.
Really?
And I have to tell you, this is for a communications department. So, another, the thing about a cover letter is that it is probably one of your best examples of your writing. Maybe even more so than your resume. So I would definitely send a cover letter along with your resume, unless you're told not to. Because if you don't send a cover letter with a resume and other people do, and employers are expecting that cover letter, then you're out of luck. So, cover letters, they're great for really expressing your interest in the position. They add another dimension to your candidacy. So, bring those relevant accomplishments to the surface in your cover letter. So I would definitely send cover letters.
So good. Okay, good. Yeah. So really good point there. I've kind of been curious of what the thought is, but I think in a communications role, they're looking to see. You know how to package this up. If you can't put a cover letter with your resume, and then what are your thoughts on the flip side? After the interview, thank you note, is a thank you email okay, or do you need to like type or handwrite a letter and
Well,
send it?
the thank you email is the one that it's probably expected most, rather than a thank you card.
Mhm.
With the thank you email, it gets there immediately once you finish writing it, and with the thank you card, it could take a couple days or more.
Right.
And also with the email, you can write more in the email, although you really don't want to overdo it. And
Mhm.
I really want to stress that when you send a thank you note, make sure that it's unique to each person.
Okay.
Make sure that it's not the same thank you note that you send to the lead interviewer.
Yeah,
And,
copy and paste, because they make
copy
compare
and
notes,
paste, right?
right? They're like, "Hey,
'Cause
Bob,
they'll
what did you
compare
think?"
notes.
I
Yeah,
wrote the same thing, you know?
yeah.
So, a question came in from Margie, and Margie, this question is for you, Bob. Margie asked, comment on the job ad that lists 4 pages of requirements, but 3 years of experience. Experience seems to indicate entry level, but requirements seem to indicate more. So, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, is this
Well, I mean, employers are naturally they're looking for the purple squirrel.
yeah,
They're looking for someone who can do all. And so I would actually feel better about getting a longer job description than a shorter one, because at least most of the important requirements.
okay,
And I would say that if you have 80% of them, maybe even 70%, then you should apply for the position anyways, because there are other variables. There are your transferable skills. And then there are people who are just sending documents that have nothing to do with the job. So don't be afraid, or don't be what's the word, put off by these long job descriptions.
yeah, they can be a little
Yeah,
scarier. They can be like a bit. I don't want to say. I guess it might be overwhelming or daunting. You look at that, and
yeah,
I don't know if you have experience working with. I feel like sometimes we as women, we tend to be more hesitant on applying for a job unless we meet 100% of the qualifications, whereas our male counterparts might say, "Yeah, I know about half of those. I can pick up the rest as I'm going to apply for the job." Do
yeah.
you find that with your female candidates versus the male candidates that you're working with?
You mean in terms of their willingness to
Apply if they have
apply
the requirements, yeah.
when they don't have all the requirements? I think women are less inclined to do that than men.
Yeah,
Um, and then they're also less inclined to negotiate salary and benefits than men. But
right,
you can't be too unrealistic. You can't have only 20% of the requirements and
right.
apply for the job.
Yeah, I think you got to be in the ballpark there. Yeah.
Exactly.
Aaron has a question. Aaron says, "Hi, Bob. What's the best
Hey,
way to encourage a hiring manager company to continue to move forward with the interview process? She got to a last interview with the CEO and things have stalled. What advice for Aaron?"
this is really a unique time. So it may be that the CEO and the other hiring authorities, they may be dealing with other issues. I know that companies have put hiring on hold for a while.
Okay.
Just don't give up, Aaron. Be pretty tasteful about how you follow up. But I would say every week, just send a little reminder that you're still there, and you're still very interested in the position.
Okay.
Um,
And
yeah.
Aaron, I'm going to ask if it's okay with you if I can share your profile on screen right now. I'll wait for you to comment back and let me know if that's okay to do so, because I'd like to give Aaron a little bit of visibility on the session if we could.
Oh, that's wonderful.
While I'm waiting for Aaron's response to come in, Bob, what advice do you have for people regarding job search and LinkedIn? And I'm going to throw a specific question your way, which is, let's say I interviewed with a company. Is it okay for me to connect with the HR manager? Is it okay for me to connect with everybody that I've interviewed? What are your thoughts there? What's the appropriateness level there?
Well, that's funny, because I was asked that question once, and so I thought I would try to reach out to recruiters and see what they thought. And probably the best group for recruiters is on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And so I reached out to the recruiters group on Facebook, and I asked them, hey, what they thought about someone sending them an invite after a phone interview, and they were all like, yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Just do it. Yeah.
Okay.
So
It's okay. They don't.
maybe the hiring manager is a little different, but I would definitely, with recruiters and HR, I would do that. Yeah.
Okay, good. So Erin replied back and she said, yes, go ahead and share me. So let me just add her up on the screen here too. And Erin is looking, she has experience in the staffing industry. She's got some background with automotive, but she's open to other staffing positions as well. And so any kind of quick reactions to her profile, what you're seeing here about up on screen. Can you see this?
Yeah.
Maybe a large screen on here. Is that a little better?
Yeah. I like her headline. It doesn't say that she's looking for work, first of all.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of that.
Yes, let's talk about that. So why some people put unemployed, open to new opportunities, is ONO. Why shouldn't they do that?
It just doesn't add value to their their value statement. It's just it's their situation. It's not the strengths that they can bring to the table. Whereas what Erin says is staffing industry leader, I'm committed to lead teams to solve workforce needs. I think that says more about her abilities than her situation.
Okay.
We don't know if so she's the one who said that she's looking for a job, right?
Right. She had the interview and it stalled, and she said, "Hey," and I think not. I agree with the approach of not being as I don't think you want to say open to new opportunities. So that I've heard first of all, the recruiters aren't searching for unemployed when they're doing searches.
No.
And then the other part is, I think, I mean, now the market's changing a little bit. So I think you want people to discover it as they're reading through your profile. I don't think you want to be front and center necessarily. But this new LinkedIn feature, I don't know if you have any experience with this, Bob, where now you can show that you're open to new opportunities. And Erin's chosen to show that to all of people that are viewing her profile.
Good. Very good. Yep.
So what are your thoughts on that? Have you heard about that feature being used by recruiters, or just from a visibility standpoint, do you think that's a good thing to turn that on?
I do. And in fact, I have it on my profile, not for full-time employment, but for part-time work or for freelancing. But yeah, definitely if you are 100% in the job search, definitely have that on, because recruiters who use the package at large companies, they have a way of tracking that. So that could really be a way to flag them.
Okay.
Definitely. Yeah.
All right. Awesome. And as we kind of we're getting close to the top of the hour here, Bob. So I'm going to take a second to see if there's any additional.
Top of the hour.
Top of the hour.
Heard that in a while.
Right?
Yeah.
Fun here. And we're kind of rounding the corner here. I think that's all the comments that are coming in. My phone is freezing right now.
Can I say something about the resume and the LinkedIn profile for mature workers?
Please, yes.
Specifically, is that I really believe that the further back you go in the work history, the more you're going to encounter ageism. So please keep it to 10 or 15 years. And for those of you who are saying, well, what happens when I get to the interview and they ask me why I didn't have that information on my resume or LinkedIn profile, you can say, well, Ms. Employer, I really didn't feel that information was relevant. What's most relevant to you is what you see in front of you.
Okay. The current work. So I'm going to put that in. So tip from mature workers here, focus on the past 10 to 15 years in terms of both. And that's for both resume as well as for their LinkedIn profile.
Well, I personally believe that the profile should be consistent with the resume. Some will say otherwise, but when when the recruiter who will definitely go to your LinkedIn profile goes there and sees that you have 25 years of work experience listed on your profile, but only 15 on your resume, then hey, there's a little bit of mismatch there.
Okay, very good. Good question. And a follow-up question related to Erin's headline. Someone said, and this was Beth who said, I like her headline. Beth has been told not to use your title, no matter the situation. Keywords are better. I've actually been telling people use the job title because they might be searching for marketing director, VP of marketing.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on that? Do you agree, or do you agree with
for the resume or the profile?
For the LinkedIn profile.
For the profile, I would say use a title that is searched the most. So for instance, if you are a project manager, do you list project manager or do you list PM?
Okay.
If you're marketing, let's say if you're a marketing specialist, do you list marketing specialist or marketing coordinator? I mean, the two are pretty much alike. So I would just, yeah, I mean, with your LinkedIn profile, and then also you can, since the keywords are counted throughout the profile, you can use both. You can say at one point you're a marketing specialist, and then a little further down, mark your marketing coordinator, and so forth.
Okay, very good, Bob. And I'm going to throw this other ticker up on screen here, thingscareerrelated.com. Tell us what this is.
That's my blog.
So what can people find?
I admit it, I blog.
What can people find if they go to that blog?
They're going to find information on the job search foremost, and they're also going to find a lot of information on LinkedIn. And you'll find that if you look at my profile, that it is very, very branded toward LinkedIn. So yeah, that's one that appeared in jobhunt.org, which is a really, really popular blog.
Okay.
So
awesome.
That's one I did for Susan Joyce.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Hey Susan, if you're out there.
Yeah, we'll tag Susan in the comments later so she knows that we're talking. Any other folks you want to give shout outs to? This is the shameless plug section of the interview, Bob.
Like my mother?
No. Say hi to your
I don't know. I've got so many people that I really wanted to say hi to, but I can't remember.
We're putting you on the spot here.
You're putting me on the spot.
I didn't in the pre-interview.
It's like, okay, so which child do I love more?
Right. Which child do you love? No, I'm just kidding.
I really want to plug are the people that I have the pleasure of serving. People like Doug. They are the most important people. My customers, my clients.
Awesome. Well, I want to invite anybody who is connected with Bob, if you're watching this interview now, if you're watching it in playback, whether it's on Facebook or LinkedIn or YouTube, wherever it is, leave a comment below and let's share the love with Bob. Thank Bob for the work he's doing for you. Let folks know how Bob is a great resource. Yeah. And I'm going to give you guys a little plug, or give Bob a plug too. If you guys have worked with Bob and you haven't already given him a LinkedIn recommendation, please go and give Bob a LinkedIn recommendation.
What happened to LinkedIn recommendations, huh?
They're still there. They're so cool. They're in the
What happened to endorsements? They're sort of going out the window too.
I don't know. I still use those. I try to remind it. Actually, in February, I changed my LinkedIn header background, and I put a big headline. I said, "Share the love on LinkedIn," and I said, "Give someone a recommendation or endorse them for their skills," to remind people, because it does help. It helps them to come up in search. And I think there's the human element. Like if you endorse me, I go, "Oh wow, that's cool. Bob endorsed me," and then I reach out and say thank you, and we get a little conversation going back and forth. It's an important thing to do. So, excuse me. Any final comments for the group here, Bob? Any additional resources we should be checking out, or kind of passing words here as we get our weekend started?
I just wanted to say that I have to thank Brenda for creating a Brenda's list, which is the LinkedIn rock stars. I mean, she has incited such a fervor for getting followers and so forth, and she's really, I think almost single-handedly, you have started people to really start doing more commenting, more engagement on LinkedIn, because that's the only way that you're going to get followers. So yeah, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. And the list that Bob is referring to is called the LinkedIn Rockstar. So I started kind of following people who are in the industry that do similar work. We help with LinkedIn strategy, coaching, and et cetera. And I shine the spotlight on them because it helps me to grow and become better at what I do. And we all help and support each other. So there's a little LinkedIn strategy tip built in there, which is comment on posts on LinkedIn. It helps your visibility. So if you're a mature job seeker, start commenting 5 or more words, and just commenting on posts, and you'll help to increase your visibility.
Just promise you'll never stop that list.
I
don't know if anyone can take your place.
I don't know. It was like I was doing it weekly for a while, and then it started becoming a lot of work.
Monthly's cool. Monthly,
I think it's better because it's not a strain on your weekend every Saturday. Right. But this weekend, so last week,
God love you for that. I mean, jeez.
No, it's a little bit of work. I've changed the format, but I'm trying to make it downloadable so people can actually use it and go and click on the profiles a little bit easier now. But that'll be coming out tomorrow. Tomorrow, Saturday? Yeah. So tomorrow's the non-LinkedIn.
That's a non-LinkedIn, yeah, right. Yeah,
this is like the people who are good at LinkedIn but not training coaching. So Bob, I put your LinkedIn URL. Let me see if I can do this finger point here. Up on screen here. You are open to accepting invitations from people on LinkedIn?
Followers, absolutely.
Followers? Yep. Okay, so if we visit your profile,
please follow.
Please follow. Click the follow button. Yep. And then if they want to learn more, I'm just going to throw the blog is actually still running underneath, thingscareerrelated.com. Yep. So check those things out. Bob, it's really been a pleasure speaking with you today. Thank you so much for joining me.
Brenda, thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, guys. Well, stay healthy, stay safe out there. If you're looking to learn more about my upcoming LinkedIn Lives, make sure you go on. It's a little bit hard to do this. MellerReckoning.com.
It's looking good. Yeah, you're right.
Did I do that okay? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And check that out. Bob, I'm in the need of a virtual high five, so we're going to try to do this. So what you need to do? Let me see. I'm going to go. You got to put your hand towards.
Oh, it's the opposite hand. I got it.
Look at that. There we go. Virtual high five.
Nice. Nice.
Someday we'll hopefully get the chance to meet in person, Bob. And until then, I look forward to seeing you online. And stay safe with your family at home there.
All right. Thank you.
All right, guys. Have a good weekend, everybody. And make sure you subscribe to get notifications for future updates.
Yeah, and much love to you guys looking for work.
Yeah. Take care, guys. Good luck.